Hi everyone, it's Hayley. I just thought I would give you an update on everything. So the last time I spoke to you, I told you of my recent diagnosis of chronic myeloid leukemia. So it's just kind of a little update on how I've been doing. I've been on the medication for 2.5 weeks now. So I'll take you back to last week. It's Friday today, so last Tuesday, over a week ago, I started to feel really achy, and I'd been on the tablets for a week, and I'd felt okay. The first day I took them I felt really nauseous and a little bit rubbish, but after that I was absolutely fine. So on the Tuesday when I started to feel really achy, I weren't sure whether it was something to do with the medication, because I know you can get joint pain, or whether it was that I was coming down with something, and my husband and my daughter had both been poorly, so I thought maybe I was coming down with something. The Tuesday night we had tickets to go and see Sarah Millican, and I was feeling absolutely awful, like all I wanted to do was just get snuggled up in bed and go to sleep. But we'd both been looking forward to it for such a long time, and we tried to get tickets on a few occasions and weren't able to get any. So I said to my husband that I was going to man up and we were going to go, and if I started to feel really awful then we would just have to leave. So we got there, and for the first half I felt okay. I was able to really enjoy it. I still felt a bit achy and just generally unwell, and sort of, you know, when you go really hot and then you go really cold and all of that, but I was okay. And then during the interval I started to feel really quite ill, but I sat it out. Didn't enjoy the second half quite so much because I felt so poorly, and I was sat all snuggled up with a coat and everything on top of me because I was absolutely freezing. When it got to the end and it was time to go, I stood up and then I thought I was going to collapse. I felt really faint, started to feel really nauseous, and just generally felt horrendous. My husband had had a couple of ciders, pear ciders, whilst we were there, so I drove home, and to be quite honest with you, I have absolutely no idea how I managed to drive home because I felt so rough, but I think actually concentrating on driving kind of made me feel a little bit better. I got home and then I just had like a massive hot flush and I had to strip off, and I felt really sick. I was in the bathroom thinking that I was going to be sick, and I hate feeling nauseous. I don't like being sick, but I'd rather be sick than be feeling nauseous. So that was horrible. And then we took my temperature, and my temperature was at 39. And on the medication that I'm on, we were told that if you start to develop fever-like symptoms and you have a temperature, then you need to be seen. And by this point it was about 11:15, so we were just like, we'll go up to A&E and get checked out. So by this point I'd got into my pyjamas, so I really stylishly went up to the hospital in my pyjamas and dressing gown and slippers. Got seen pretty quickly. They took a load of blood, and then they took me round to the emergency department and gave me a cubicle. I was given a drip with fluids and antibiotics in it. I had 2 loads of antibiotics and 2 drips, 2 bags of fluid. I was on ED until 10 o'clock the next morning, and then they admitted me into hospital onto a ward. My heart rate was really fast and my temperature was still fluctuating and it wasn't coming down so well, so they wanted to keep me in. They were trying to find the source of the infection, although they thought it could just be a virus. If my husband and my daughter had been ill, then it probably was a viral thing, but they were trying to treat it under what they call their sepsis protocol, which is when people come in with 2 of 5 or 6 criteria, then they treat them under the sepsis protocol, which is like a blood infection, blood poisoning. So those were the antibiotics that I was being given as if I had blood poisoning, but I don't think I actually did. I think it was just a viral thing, and had it not been for my medication and my condition, I would have just ridden it out at home and just got in from the theatre, gone up to bed and just slept it off and taken pills. But because of what I was told about if you have a temperature and fever and all of that, then you need to go up. That's why we went up. So on the Wednesday, I had been booked in to have my very first bone marrow biopsy, and my consultant actually came up onto the ward to see me and see how I was doing, and he said that he only had a half an hour window for that, and with me being a little bit unwell, he wanted to reschedule it for the next day. So I spent the Wednesday night in hospital again, and then my obs were doing a lot better. Everything was coming down. My heart rate was still slightly fast, but I think I just have a slightly fast heart rate anyway. And so yeah, on the Thursday I ended up going down to the private wing of our hospital because I'm being seen for the leukemia privately. And I went down there to have the bone marrow biopsy. Now, if any of you watching this are about to have one and have never had one before, I want to be as honest as possible, but everyone's experiences are different, so it might not be like this for you. I found it awful, and I don't know if it's just because I'd been in hospital and I was already feeling bleh anyway, so I was just uber sensitive, because normally I can handle things fairly well. I think I was just feeling a little bit rough and down in the dumps anyway, so when I have my next one I might be able to recount a completely different experience. But it's quick, it doesn't last very long. The setting up and the clearing up at the end takes the longest part of it. The actual thing itself is really, really quick. It is just a really short but intense pain. And I just think I hadn't prepared myself for it to be painful. My consultant had said it's like having a blood test, and the actual procedure itself is, apart from that they have to go through the bone to get the bone marrow out. So it's not just going into a vein, it's an artery, it's actually going through the bone. But you're under local anaesthetic, so you don't really feel the needle or anything going through the bone. It's when they actually take the bone marrow, which looks just like blood, it's not anything weird looking. It's when they do that, and it's really quite painful, and it does only last about 5 seconds. It's not it doesn't go on for ages, but I just found the whole thing really horrible. And I think it was just because I was underprepared. I think I was thinking it wasn't going to be painful at all. The way my consultant, who is lovely by the way, so I'm not saying this is like a bad thing on him, but the way he had explained it to me was that people had told him that it feels like a pain that it's almost going to get really, really painful, but it never actually does. Well, for me it was painful. So, but like I say, it's quick. It doesn't last for very long. So, yeah, that was done, and it was harder as well because he had to take 2 lots of marrow, which he already explained to me. But then he also had to take a bit of bone, which is minuscule. It's not like a big bit of bone that they pull out, but they have to scrape for that, which was okay. Just felt really sort of like it was digging into me, but that bit wasn't actually painful. But the second lot of marrow he got wasn't enough for his slides, so he needed to take a third. So I think instantly it was worse because I had to do it more than you would normally anyway. So yeah, it was an experience I'm not keen to go through again, even though I have to in about 3 months' time, and then probably again at about 12 months or 18 months, can't remember which one. So I'm not keen to go through it again, and I was saying